Hey guys, welcome back to CJ's Keto Kitchen. We hope that you had a lovely Thanksgiving. And tonight's dish is going to be a way for you to utilize any of your Thanksgiving leftovers. This is going to be a turkey biscuit casserole, or what I'm lovingly referring to as Gobbler Cobbler. So come along with me and let's get started. So this is going to be a biscuit-topped turkey cobbler, and we're going to have lots of delicious, juicy flavors and herbs making up our turkey gravy. But it's simple and it's a good way for you to use up those turkey leftovers. Let's go ahead and get started. Oh, you're going to need some kind of Dutch oven or large skillet to make your gravy filling for your casserole. So inside the Dutch oven, I have 4 tablespoons of butter that I am melting, because I am going to lightly saute some of my ingredients. You are also going to need to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Additionally, you are going to need a 9 by 13 inch baking dish or casserole dish of some kind. I have greased mine with a little bit of avocado oil spray. So into our butter that is melting in our Dutch oven, I am going to add 1/4 of an onion. Mine happens to be a white onion, but you can use any kind that you want. And I have just diced it very, very finely, so it's a very small amount of onion, but it's going to go very far in our casserole because I have diced it so fine. And we're just going to let that start to soften and get translucent. We aren't looking for any kind of browning. This is just to enhance the flavor of the gravy that we're going to be making with our turkey. The next thing that I'm going to add is 1 cup of chopped mushrooms. I have cremini here. You could use white button, you can use portobello, any kind of mushroom that you enjoy. And once again, that is 1 cup, and I have chopped it. And we're just going to let that warm up in our melted butter with our onion. The next thing that we are going to be adding is fresh herbs, and I have just chopped mine. I'm going to be adding about 1.5 tablespoons. You could do as little as 2 teaspoons. It depends on what you like. I really recommend fresh herbs here. Fresh herbs are so important in elevating a simple dish. They're not cost prohibitive. They usually cost about $1.99 a package, and they last for a really long time in your refrigerator. So I have rosemary, thyme, and sage chopped up here, and I'm adding that in. This just gives a simple dish richness. To those fresh herbs, I'm going to be adding a little bit of powdered seasoning in the form of Trader Joe's 21 Seasoning Salute and a little bit of granulated garlic. And I'm just going to sprinkle that in. You could put poultry seasoning here if you desired, but I am going to be using that a little later on in our dish. We're just going to let that incorporate for a second and come up to temperature. The next ingredient that I'm going to add is 1/4 cup of almond flour, and this is going to assist us in thickening our gravy. And I'm just going to dump that in and work it around, and we're going to let this almond flour cook off a little bit so we get rid of the flour taste. Okay. The next step is chicken broth. And I need 2 cups of chicken broth. If you wanted to use beef, you could use vegetable, whatever you like. I happen to have chicken. So I need 2 cups of that. If you have bone broth, that would be excellent here. And we just want this to come to a low simmer. And this will allow our almond flour to incorporate into our chicken stock and start to thicken a bit. This is going to create our yummy turkey gravy sauce for our casserole. Now I'm going to add a little bit of arrowroot powder here in this step. That's just going to further add the thickening. You don't have to do this. This is optional. If you prefer to work with xanthan gum, you could, or you could just leave it out. But I do find that it gives a nice silkiness to my gravies, especially because we aren't using traditional binders like flour and cornstarch. And I'm just going to sprinkle that in and use my whisk. And just whisk it in. Okay, now it has finally come to temperature. I'm going to turn the heat down just a bit. And now we are going to add the creaminess element to our gravy. And for that we are going to be using heavy whipping cream. And I want 2/3 of a cup. And once again, I'm going to cover this for a minute and let it simmer. Okay, so I have turned the heat off on my Dutch oven. In our Dutch oven, I'm going to add the turkey. This is leftover turkey from the holiday, and I have about 3 cups here of chopped turkey. And I'm just going to add that into our Dutch oven. Now, if you wanted to make this some other time of year when you don't have turkey available, you could absolutely use some other kind of poultry here. It wouldn't have to be turkey. And I'm just going to stir that around. I'm also going to be adding a can of green beans. If you had leftover vegetables from whatever you ate for your Thanksgiving meal, you could include those. I just want about a cup of vegetables, besides the mushrooms and onion, of course. So you could use any kind of vegetable that you enjoy here, but I happen to enjoy green beans, and I happen to enjoy canned green beans. But of course, use whatever you and your family enjoy. And I'm just going to stir that around. Now once again, my heat is off, and I'm just going to leave this here while we create our biscuit topping for our Gobbler Cobbler, because it is a turkey biscuit casserole. We are going to be creating our biscuit topping for our turkey casserole. So in my bowl, I have 1.5 cups of almond flour, and I'm just going to break that up a bit with my authorized fork. You could sift this if you wanted to, but we're just simply making biscuits, so it's not necessary if you don't feel like getting out your sifter. Next we need a leavener. So we're going to be using baking powder here. And I want 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And just a side note, if you're going to be doing some baking during the holidays or any time that you really want good performance, it's important to replace your baking powder fairly often because you can lose the fast-acting ability of baking powder if it's old. So that's 1.5 teaspoons, and I'm just putting that right in. And once again, I'm just going to whisk that around, making sure that our leavener is evenly combined into our flour. I would like to add just a little bit of seasoning to my biscuits. We are going to be brushing them with butter and herbs at the end, so we don't need a lot. I just want a little bit into our biscuit. But that's, of course, personal preference, and I just about 2 shakes of the 21 seasoning salute. Once again, incorporating that. So next for biscuits, we need to cut in or add in our fat. And in this case, we're going to be using butter. And I have 3 tablespoons, extremely cold, and cut into little tiny cubes. And we just want to work this in. I'm going to be using my hands. If you would like to use a pastry blender, you can, or a couple of forks. But I like being able to feel my cutting in of the fats to get the texture that I can. For me, it's a very tactile experience, and I feel like I have a bit more control of getting the fat into the flours. So that's how I'm going to be cutting in mine, but of course do whatever you'd like. And once again, that's 3 tablespoons of very cold chopped up butter. Some people actually grate their butter. And I'm just going to start working that into the flour with my fingertips, and just the warmth of your hands can really help to break that down. And you just kind of want to do a rubbing motion with the flours. And you're really not looking to break the butter down completely. You do want to have cubes, chunks of butter in there, because what's going to happen is when it hits the heat of the oven, it's going to create a steaming effect that will then pump up your biscuits, make them fluffy, which is what you're going for when you are making biscuits. And you're looking for a sandy texture. So kind of when you go to the beach. And just try and work as much of it into your flours and leavener as you can. Okay, so the next step that we are going to do for this is I'm going to make a well in my bowl. So that means I'm going to push my ingredients away from the center, opening up a blank spot here in the center of my bowl for me then to add my moist ingredients. So you're going to need 1 egg. You're also going to need about 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. And we're just going to pour that into the well with the egg. And what I like to do is I like to kind of whip my egg with my fork into that heavy cream. And then I'm just going to take that fork and start adding my dry ingredients in. And we don't want to overwork this dough because we want to keep that fluffy, buttery texture. And using a fork for this just kind of helps get everything incorporated, but not pack it down. Because sometimes if you use a spoon, it can end up getting packed down a little bit. So we're just basically looking to get everything incorporated while still keeping our dough fairly chunky. Okay, So there's our biscuit topping, and I'm just going to set that aside for a minute.
Okay.
So now I'm going to take our gravy mixture that we set aside a few minutes ago, and we're going to put that now into our casserole dish. And our gravy has thickened up quite a bit, so that will be nice. And I'm just going to pour that in the bottom, and then we will top it with our biscuits. We want to make sure we get all those delicious herbs out. And I'm just going to spread everything around. And this is just going to continue to further thicken while we bake it in the oven. Okay. Now we're going to take our biscuits. Now if you wanted to, scoop them out and make them perfectly even, you could. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use a spoon and make them fairly free form because I want that rustic look for my particular biscuit casserole. But you can do whatever you'd like. I'm just going to take my dough and just start placing it on my casserole just in random spots. Once again, if you wanted to do like traditional biscuits, like formed into a biscuit on top, you could do that. Like forming them into a ball, like such. But I'm just kind of putting mine down. And I would like to have a biscuit, in most spots of the cobbler. And I don't know if you can see or not, but here is a good example of what I was talking about earlier. It's a glob of butter, and that's what you're looking for, because that is going to assist in puffing up our biscuits in the oven. And I just want to get all my corners. Trying to make sure that each part of our casserole gets some biscuit topping. So in a small cup, I have about a tablespoon of butter that I have melted and added a little bit of poultry seasoning to it. And I'm just going to brush the top of our biscuit crumble just to give it a little bit of goldenness while it cooks, and also some additional flavor, because our biscuits really don't have much flavor and we kind of want to enhance that. So I'm just taking a pastry brush and just brushing the biscuit portions with this butter herb mixture. And the butter is also going to assist in making everything very golden. Okay. So I'm going to be baking this at 375 degrees, like we preheated our oven at the beginning of the video. And I want to cook this for about 35 to 45 minutes, depending on your oven. Oven temperatures vary, so I can't tell you exactly how long it will take in your personal oven. I will let you know how long it took in my personal oven, but I am going to start with 35 minutes. Okay, our casserole is ready to come out of the oven. It smells wonderful. There's what it looks like. Our gravy is golden and bubbly, and our biscuits look delicious. So I'm going to bring this up to the countertop, and as with all casseroles, I'm going to let it sit for about 15 minutes, and then we will serve CJ and get his opinion.
Go ahead, right.
Okay, so it's been sitting for about 15 minutes, and I'm going to serve. And our gravy got nice and thick and rich. Those beautiful mushrooms in there. And I'm using a 6-ounce measuring spoon, and you should be able to get 8 servings at 6 ounces out of this casserole. Tonight's fabulous dinner is Gobbler Cobbler or Turkey Biscuit Casserole. And we are going to have CJ taste it for us.
All right, looks good.
Smells good.
Gobbler Cobbler.
Yeah. Okay. Get it.
I get it.
Turkey was actually my nickname when I was little.
Turkey?
Yeah, that's what my grandfather called me. I even had it imprinted on my tricycle.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
I know.
So if I call you a turkey,
I won't take offense.
you won't.
No. It's endearing. Gobble gobble.
All right, back to this.
What do you think?
It's good. I like turkey, but this would be a good leftover casserole for the leftovers. And yeah, it's too bad that we're going to give half of this away.
Because we're actually filming this before Thanksgiving.
Right.
So we're going to be eating a lot of turkey in the next coming days. So
The mushrooms are really good.
good. Can you taste the herbs?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
it does elevate the flavor.
Good.
And this has only been out for 20 minutes, maybe. Still, it's not hot though. But anyway, I think it's good, baby.
Good.
I think people will like it. I like it. It's really good flavor.
Good.
Really Thanksgiving-y.
Good.
I don't
If
know
that's
if
a word, we can make it a word.
I don't think it's a word, but I'm ready to eat dinner.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. For joining us again tonight, you guys. We hope that you enjoy this delicious casserole. I know that we definitely are going to. We hope that you will consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you know when our content goes up. Generally on Wednesdays, we have keto conversations. That includes ketogenic lifestyle topics. Sometimes we have food unboxings, sometimes grocery hauls, what we eat on this lifestyle. Just keeping each other together on the keto lifestyle. And then on Sunday, that's generally when our recipes go live. We did a flip-flop this week simply because we wanted to give you an additional Thanksgiving option. But generally our recipes go up on Sunday. So definitely hit the bell so you know when that happens. We are on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. And we are also trying a little bit of TikTok. And that is CJ's Keto Kitchen everywhere. If you need the information for this recipe, that includes nutrition, macros, tips and tricks, anything you might need. Most of our recipes are printable. That is on our blog, and that is CjsKetokitchen.com. Also, we have created a holiday playlist of other options for this time of year, both for the holidays coming up and any other holiday that you might think of that you might need ketogenic options. So definitely head over there and check it out. We hope that you'll come back and see us again. And until that time, be safe and be well. Bye.
Let's go outside, the snow is falling down and every child is having so much fun. The snowman is twice the size as me, with a smile as quirky as mine. We're holding hands to keep each other warm while we stand and watch a choir performing all the Christmas songs that we love. Yeah, all the Christmas songs that we love. And in a while we're gonna go inside and drink our chocolate by the fire. 'Cause all I want is to spend this day with you. Let me give you a Christmas, a moment we'll fill with love and joy. So beautiful, kissing